Welcome to part 2 of my review of the Update 6.66 Master Levels. This time we're talking about the World Spear from the Ancient Gods Part 2. Before we get to it, a little history is needed. The reception to Tag 2 was certainly mixed when it came out, and part of it, not all of it, was the issue of difficulty. Now, you can make things difficult in many ways, some good, some bad, but there was something about Tag 2 that just felt kinda empty to a lot of players, speaking specifically about the combat. But there was certainly some opportunity there, especially in the World Spear, which has a number of excellent combat spaces. In addition to the combat feeling a little thin in Tag 2, there's also the issue of the hammer, which to any semi-knowledgeable player is immediately a broken combat option. I want to dive more into this in another video, but I'll just state the obvious. It's a super weapon that stuns surrounding enemies, it multiplies the amount of health and armor you get back, and it returns ammo. It's powerful, but it's also awesome. Doom should have very powerful weapons. The issue comes from how easy it is to recharge. It requires weak point breaks and glory kills, just 2, which is very easy to get. Hell, you can drop a hammer and just wildly blood punch and accidentally recharge the hammer by breaking Mancubus cannons and Arachnotron cannons. A single blood punch after a hammer will probably leave someone in glory kill, and that's half a charge right there. You don't have to be a pro, you just have to be competent, and you can pretty much loop the hammer all day. So going into Update 6.66, the question of what to do about the hammer was always in the air. There was a lot of talk about whether you should rebalance the hammer or tune the combat to the power of the hammer. Cause honestly, the hammer is so good that it allows you to handle a lot, and Tag 2 doesn't throw a lot at you. Ultimately, with Horde mode, they decided to nerf the hammer in one simple way: double the charges. That way you're working towards the hammer and you find yourself needing it instead of always having it. That was the right call. Because what would balancing the game for the power of the hammer even look like? Well, now we know. This is the World Spear Master level, and it is Hammer City, as we'll see very soon. Normally, I just fly past the opening section, but I'm sticking around to see what's here. I'm ready to fight. We're taking on a tyrant with a bunch of imps, and waiting for us down below, we've got a couple Mancubi, and it's a good time to start getting used to the hammer again. Practice a hammer smash and refill it with a couple weak points. It's also nice to see some harassment from pain elementals and a big electrified floor as we move forward, and even some extra hazards in the air, firing towards the wall. The first little combat area throws multiple Arachnotrons at you, which if you saw in my last video, you know I love. And there's a cursed prowler running around, so of course as I'm screwing around with the Arachnotrons I get cursed. Great start, Mayo. The first part goes on a bit longer than it originally did in Tag 2, with Barons, Cacodemons, Spectre Pinkies, and if you think you're gonna come in here just swinging hammers, there's Screechers sprinkled throughout, and if you trigger them, you're just making things worse. I feel like this was done on purpose to send a message. They start the level with a Tyrant and Imp wave, which is just asking you to hammer, with some Mancubi below to practice your hammer recharging tactics, and then the next combat room has Screechers to mess you up if you try to hammer too much. They're saying get ready to use the hammer a bunch, but don't think that we're always gonna let you get away with it. Jesus, another surprise Dread Knight? Did they agree on this before designing these two levels? Perfect moment to pull out the hammer. And this right here, I love this. These random tentacles that bop me. Cause I'm just flying through these sections on autopilot, going through the motions, and these things jump out and say, no, pay attention. You know what? I appreciate that. After hitting the trigger, we go to the fog section, and I really like how they've added a meat hook point here. I found it very helpful in the first fight. In the fog section, we get our first real shakeup of this level. There's a buff totem active, just like in the original version of the level, but the enemies stop coming. After a moment of confusion, I follow the meat hook point back out into the fog, which leads me to the buff totem. And then it triggers a bizarre little fight with a floating, respawning turret and an archvile and a variety of heavy demons, one each. These first 3 non-major fights make it clear that this master level is going to be weird. It's going to be unpredictable. In a lot of ways, it's the opposite of the Mars Core master level, which was designed to be straightforward and just plain fun, like an awesome rock concert. The World Spear instead opts to constantly introduce new types of encounters that we've never seen before. Heading to the ramp that leads to the first arena, it's our favorite Tag 2 demon, the Riot Soldier. They are being used in better ways this time around. Higher numbers, providing support for super heavy demons. It's better. It's better. But, you know, they still kind of suck. But it's better.
I mean, that's a valid point, but
Okay, so
but I wouldn't say it was good.
it's better.
Maybe it's better,
Okay,
but not good.
better.
Mojo still pops out like he always does, and we meet the true star of this master level, lasers. Huge, moving, debuffing lasers. My favorite part, and I am not saying that ironically. I love this stuff. I don't want just room after room of demon spawns at this point in the game. I'm ready for them to really shake things up, and these lasers do it. They're easy to avoid if you're aware of your positioning and pay attention to your movement. And that's the point. These lasers give you something new to think about. I really like having to think about where I'm going and getting punished hard for stepping into a hazard. Hazards should feel punishing if you're careless around them, otherwise why even have them at all? This is just the first arena fight of the World Spear, and I think it might be my favorite, but we're just getting started. There's a Cybermank added to this little transition section here, always nice to see one of the big fatties blocking my way. And then, holy shit, what's this? A closed-in Marauder fight. I like this for a couple reasons. One, I think it's good to present early level Marauders in an isolated manner just for people to have a quick refresher on how to interact with them. You know, for people who haven't played in a while. And two, I like the tight space that can lead to you getting pushed into a corner. And there's a roof, so you can't do some of the cheesy setups on him. I'm not saying you shouldn't be able to do those things. I think the variety of kill methods on Marauders is part of what makes him cool. But I like the occasional moment where the game asks you to kill him in a more conventional manner under the pressure of limited space. We cross into a cute little encounter with a cue ball setup into mecha zombies. That's fun, I like seeing things blow up. And then a Mancubus is set up for us to recharge a hammer for the next room. And we'll need it. The Armored Baron finally makes his appearance, probably my favorite of the DLC 2 enemies, him and the Cursed Prowler now that he's been reworked. Then bam, another laser shows up, this time a horizontal rotating one that will fuck you up. So how considerate of them to put a possessed Baron in the room to push you around. Thank you. It's not so bad though. There's open space, not too many other demons to worry about. It's fine. Fun fight. I wish it went on a little longer because I really like this space. We can't enter the toxic room without a rad suit, and I just know something's going to be waiting for me as soon as I pick it up. What's it going to be? Spectre Pinkies? Oh, that's nothing. A Prowler comes in, that's fine. Prowlers are fun in tight spaces. But it's not over. A Stone Imp warps in with a Marauder right behind him. Now that's a great combo for a tight space. If I hadn't killed the Stone Imp, this could have gotten really uncomfortable. I even tried to get out by meat hooking over the wall, but I couldn't. That's good though. That would be pretty lame if you could just jump away. So I stay and fight, and you know what? The Stone Imps actually respawn while you're fighting the Marauder. How cool, that's a fun little pressure spot. Oddly enough, the door to the toxic room is still locked, but I spot a portal above and use the meat hook point to get up there. And it takes us to the platforming section, which I proceed to fail several times because I'm stupid. The next portal actually takes us to the toxic room, where we face a gauntlet of Hell Knights jumping in through red portals, and there's screechers everywhere. Eventually, Maker drones appear, and man, what an awkward encounter. Trying to hit Maker drone headshots while they're buffed by screechers, and you're being bullied by buffed Hell Knights as toxic waste eats away at your life bar, that's pretty crazy. The next section is very interesting to me, because it's basically just a souped up version of how it is in the original level. I always thought these hallway sections should have more to support the Dread Knight that pops out, and here that's exactly what we get. It's still the Dread Knight, but there's gargoyles and a few screechers waiting to be hit with the hammer. In the distance, there's a carcass messing with you. When you get upstairs, the same Mancubus pops out from before, but now there's a screecher next to him and he's very close to the explosive barrel, which urges caution from you. This is great stuff. This is exactly how this section should have gone in the DLC, and I'll certainly be referencing this in the future when I talk more about the Tag 2 era of Doom Eternal. Speaking of improvements, the purple goo fight. Three things make this encounter way better than it was in the original level. It occurs later in the mission, it has more interesting enemies, and it has a meat hook point above the fountain for easy avoidance of the goo. I actually like this fight now, it's crazy. I am not anti-purple goo. I just think the goo has largely been implemented poorly. When it's used sparingly in creative ways, I'm all for it. I wasn't expecting a combat encounter leading up to the hammer, but again, we get something unexpected. A long-distance sniper section is a nice contrast to the chaotic purple goo fight we just got through, and I love these Spectre Pinkies hiding in the shadows, genuinely surprising when they come at you. Now we enter the hammer arena, and it's glorious. It is hammer smashy smashy all day, with plenty of enemies for recharge opportunities. And of course, there's lasers. It's impressive how many different kinds of laser hazards they've come up with. These serve as barriers to limit your navigation options during the fight. I love them, but my god do they tank my frame rate. They are quite demanding on the PC. How is this section running on consoles? Let me know. This fight is exhilarating. It's a great mix of open space and claustrophobia, depending on how you handle your movement and the decisions you make. There's also a strong presence of archviles, 3 in total, and that's how the enemy works. In the base campaign, archviles are a little underwhelming, kinda like revenants. But the DLC and master levels have shown us that it's not the enemies that are lacking, they just have to be used in the right way. Revenants are more effective in groups as harassment units. Archviles need to appear in isolated areas of the arena before you realize they're even here. Pain elementals are the most dangerous when you're overwhelmed and can't focus on them. Tyrants need to be supported by carcasses and high damage support units so you can't focus on them. This arena in particular does a great job of using some of these special units in smart ways to make them dangerous. Making our way to the next arena, there's another surprise hazard section that messes me up for trying to rush through it. It's a clever section, but not really dangerous enough to pose a threat or be particularly memorable. It's not long before we're dumped into the weirdest encounter of the level. The Stone Imp room has been converted into some kind of pressure room that cuts off your vertical movement. You can still jump, but it's only a hop. It's a fun, gimmicky encounter that benefits from blood punch and hammer use. And hammer really is the name of the game with this master level, so that's fine. Shit gets a little crazy when a possessed Pinky joins his brothers, and shield guys are actually jumping into the fight from above. And it doesn't end there. The sky opens up and we get to have a little fun with cacodemons and a carcass, which then calls in a pain elemental followed by a blood maker and more cacodemons and carcasses. It's not the hardest fight in the world, but the geometry and this particular combination of demons and spawn timers makes it fun. As we make our way to the jump pad, we get ambushed by Dread Knights and Stone Imps. And it's moments like this that make the hammer feel really satisfying to use, because something like this could easily get out of control if you don't handle it right. And a well-placed hammer will instantly solve the problem. Hammers are great for Stone Imps. Use it whenever you can, because if you let them run around, you're inviting trouble. When I crossed into the next section, I actually took some time to watch the cutscene, which I haven't done since Tag 2 came out. I kind of forgot about this dragon. I feel bad about that. I love how when he arrives at the cool part of the level, he just dismisses the dragon because he doesn't need it anymore. Any other game would have a cute moment where there's some kind of bond or respect. Doom Guy's just like, I'm done with you, get out of here. And then, oh my god. Just when you think it's over, it's so not. A Doom Hunter comes in to say you aren't going anywhere. And I believe I heard 2 cursed prowlers spawn in behind a series of mines falling from the sky. What the hell is going on? A spirit possesses the Doom Hunter that I didn't kill, of course, but I'll take that over 2 cursed prowlers running around. Things escalate very quickly with more Dread Knights and Stone Imp combos with Pain Elemental support. And these Stone Imps are so wacky, they really brought the pain for a while. Hey, how about we buff everyone in the fight? I have a confession to make. I forgot about the buff totem. I got so caught up in the action that I somehow ended up thinking the fight would end on its own, or the totem would despawn or something. I don't know why I thought this, maybe because I didn't see a buff totem anywhere. Turns out, the totem is slyly placed behind a big rock on the side, protected by an army of tentacles. And it doesn't stop. The fight keeps going, and another hidden buff totem appears with more tentacles and turrets. When you take it down, the fight finally ends. Definitely an endurance round. If you don't find the buff totems and you die a few times, you could spend a long time here. I think the heavy demons should have changed after the first buff totem is destroyed, and maybe bring in some blood makers for strong aerial threats, but it's still a good fight. But I don't need to say that, all the fights are good. After crossing through a few more lasers and hammering some shield guys, I get smacked again for trying to rush things. This section is nuts. It's so awkward and chaotic, it really threw me off. I enjoy those moments in Doom Eternal where I think I'm in control and suddenly I'm in a panic. I compare this game a lot to fighting games, and that's something that happens in matches. The mad scramble where both players are losing their minds and the commentators don't even know what's happening. It's so entertaining to watch, and as a player, you feel great when it works, but you feel stupid as hell if it doesn't. This was a nice little stir-fry setup on a Dread Knight. And the portal oddly takes us straight to what is normally the final combat area of the World Spear. Mojo appears as he normally does, and I don't know why, but I found it adorable that little tentacles accompany him. The way out is going the opposite way you normally would, which takes us into the much anticipated escalation encounter arena. And what can I say? It's a solid arena fight. It's long. If you don't rush through it, it could take 5 minutes. It's a more traditional fight than the other ones, and that's why I'm not commenting so much. The interesting things about this master level are the unique and inventive scenarios, the hazards, the bizarre combinations of demons. So with a fight like this, it's just like, yeah, it's an awesome fight. And you know, this is why I personally like all the variety being introduced in DLC content. The Tag 1 and 2 demons that shake up the dynamics of combat, crazy hazards, gimmicky encounters, surprise attacks, claustrophobic panic moments, the whole point-based horde mode. There's so much more to appreciate and talk about, I feel. When it's just combat, I'm kinda running out of things to say, and a master level like this really inspires me. I will say one thing though, I think protected buff totems is a great idea and should be used more. If spawn positions aren't going to be randomized, having a totem that requires certain demons to die before it can be broken is a nice way to push players into long sections of buffed combat. Exiting the escalation arena, we continue going in reverse, leading next to the Pinky Blood Punch room, which is more or less the same, just with Spectre Pinkies and Fog. It's alright, I don't mind a little mindless punching after a 5-minute long intense arena fight. A portal takes us to the meat hook point that leads to the Bloodmaker room, which is now populated by drones, a few revenants, arachnotrons, and prowlers. No big deal, casual encounter. We approached the end of the level and I watched the cutscene because again I didn't remember it at all. And I seriously did not expect to be bombarded by stone imps when it was over, so I walked away from the computer. The platforming section is unchanged. I was hoping it would be spiced up a bit, but it's not. That doesn't matter though. What we really wanted was for the final room to have a big fight. The original level doesn't have anything here, and it makes the level end very flatly. It contributes to that empty feeling that Tag 2 left inside players. I'm not saying we needed something this crazy, but man, it feels good to have a good fight to close out this level. The original World Spear needed it so badly, and even though it remains unchanged, seeing it like this in the Master level warms me up to the World Spear as a level overall. This is an epic fight, warping you to 4 different locations, much like how the Terrace Nabad Master level does. You'll find yourself trapped in a sphere, pushing forward down a laser hallway, and you'll end up back in the escalation arena, now with lasers! Yes! And a possessed tyrant! These lasers, man, absolute chaos. I will stand directly under them while I blast this spirit, I don't care. I thought this might be the end, but no, we get warped back to the first room, taking on Doom Hunters, and my boy the Marauder is back. That's a nice ending. After so much craziness, just top the whole thing off with a methodical Marauder execution. And you know what? First playthrough, first attempt at this fight, I had to end it in style with a hot dog.
Hot dog! That's a hot dog right there.
God, that was an experience. The World Spear Master level is excellent. It's not perfect, I don't think any of these Master levels are perfect, but they do so much right that it's easy for me to overlook their flaws, much like Doom Eternal as a whole. In many ways, like I said, it's the opposite of the Mars Core Master level, which I love for its straightforward action and fast pace. The World Spear is complex and full of variation and creativity. It's by far the most ambitious official piece of content they've made for Doom Eternal, and we finally get to see what it's like to balance combat to the power of the hammer. It's high pressure, it's a lot of fun. That being said, I'm very glad we don't have a full game like this. This level is great, but it's exhausting. I would not want level after level to be filled with combat balanced for the power of the hammer and crazy lasers. It was fun for one level to see what this would be like, but thank God it's just this one level. We have 4 awesome master levels that offer different experiences for people. Some people only like some of them, some people like myself find the fun in all of them. We need more. I know id Software is moving on to their next project, and they need their best combat designers on that, but there's gotta be a way to keep these things coming into the next year. We love them. I would pay for them at this point, just to further support the game. Doom Eternal is special, and I think a lot of the community would be down for some kind of year 2 program that keeps updates and master levels coming. I don't want to stop playing this game, and I think there's enough people out there to keep it alive. Thanks for watching this master level review. It'll be a little while till my next video on Doom Eternal drops. I'm working on a couple larger projects, but as soon as they're done, they'll be up. Thanks for your support, make sure you check out the Mayo shop, and see you in the next video.